Greetings ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs and I welcome you guys back to another character spotlight. Today we are taking a look at the young beautiful mage Linde. Linde was born in the mage city of Kadain, father to the great sage Miloa, one of the two pupils of archsage Gato. The other pupil was Garnef, who had not yet turned into a complete maniac, but was well on the way. At some point, Archsage Gato created the mighty spell Aura with the Star Sphere and decided to give it away to one of his students. He chose Miloa as he saw darkness in Garnef's heart and believed that he was incapable of love. With this tome, Miloa became a hero of legend and defended Akaneia on multiple occasions, earning quite a reputation for himself. This caused Garnef to become increasingly jealous, up to the point where he stole the Dark Sphere from Gato to make his own spell, the Imhulu. With this spell he killed Miloa, as even the mighty Aura could not pierce its shadowy barrier. After killing Miloa, Garnef immediately focused his attention on Linde, who was forced to flee for her life. Being her father's daughter, she too was able to wield the mighty Aura spell, which made Garnef hell-bent on exterminating her, in fear of her one day returning to avenge her father. To travel safer and draw less attention to herself, Linde disguised herself as a boy. However, this didn't end up helping much as she got captured and ended up in a slave market. Luckily for her, Prince Marth happened to walk by, and as they attempted to sell him slaves, he got furious and threatened the slavers. Linde seized this opportunity and revealed herself to Marth, pledging her loyalty to him in return for a chance to avenge her father's death. Linde's appearance changes quite a bit from the different games she is in. In the first Fire Emblem game, she is portrayed as a little tiny girl. In Fire Emblem 3, however, she is a little bit older, probably in her early teens. Her hair is a little bit longer and her outfit has changed quite a bit. For once, she seems to have forgotten her panties, but hey, it is warm in Kadain after all. In Fire Emblem 11 and 12, she has gotten increasingly older and her character is a lot more sexualized, sporting a slender frame with womanly curves and long, beautiful legs. Her hair has also gotten considerably longer, going all the way down to her ankles. Similar to many other characters from the first Fire Emblem game, Linde's personality isn't all that well developed, due to a lack of in-game dialogue. It isn't until Fire Emblem 12, where we actually get some support conversations between her and the Avatar, that we learn a little bit about her personality. She is an urban city girl with little experience of how to survive out in the wilds, and even comes across as a little shallow and naive. This probably stems from a life of isolation in Kadain's dusty libraries. She also seems quite oblivious to her own beauty, as she is quite shocked when receiving compliments on her looks. Still, despite being a little odd, she is shown to have a compassionate heart, as she truly loved her father. As a unit, Linde appears in a grand total of 5 different variants, so let's go through them all in chronological order, shall we? In Fire Emblem 1, Linde is sort of a light version of the Est archetype. She joins in Chapter 11 as a level 1 mage with extremely low base stats, but exceptionally good growths for the game she's in. She also has her own personal tome, the Aura, which deals the most damage out of any tome in the game. Before we talk about her usefulness, it's important to note how magic works in Fire Emblem 1. In this game, strength does not affect the damage dealt by magic, so it is a worthless stat for mages. Tomes only does as much damage as their might score, but in return, not a single enemy unit in the game actually has a resistance stat above 0, so you always know how much damage you're gonna deal in any given situation. Skill also does nothing to affect the hit rate of magic. Magic simply hits according to the tome's hit stats, and also ignores terrain bonuses. The only way to get magic avoid is via the luck stat, which gives you 1% magic avoid per point of luck. Luckily for you, not a single enemy unit in the game has luck, bar some of the recruitable enemies. Skill does affect crit rates though, and crit avoid does not exist in Fire Emblem 1, so having a lot of skill is definitely a good thing. With these things in mind, the only stats Linde really benefits from offensively is her high speed and skill. She will quickly get to a point where she consistently doubles her foe, and since there's not a single enemy in the game with more than 40 hit points, a double attack or a crit from the aura will kill anything she encounters, aside from the mage dragons and the final boss, who has magic immunity. Linde's usefulness is further improved by the fact that she has the ability to promote, a luxury not all classes share in Fire Emblem 1. Due to this game's low caps of 20, there is absolutely zero reason to not promote her immediately at level 10, as she is almost guaranteed to cap the stats important to her long before hitting max level, and this also gives her some nice utility in the form of wielding staves. Linde does have some steep competition from Marek, who joins 7 chapters earlier, and also has his own personal tome, Excalibur, which may not be as strong as Aura, dealing only 13 points of damage as opposed to 20, but it is 4 points lighter, will always hit with its 100% hit chance, and has a built-in 20% critical chance, though it is not super effective against flyers in this game. Also, it could be argued that the 20 might of Aura is massive overkill in most situations. This, combined with the fact that Marek only has a 10% lower speed growth than Linde, makes him a much more solid choice for a mage, and in my opinion, he's just a better unit in general. However, Linde is not difficult to train at all, and will certainly surpass him in most stats if she is properly leveled up, though at a certain point both of them will double all enemies anyway, so the only thing that really improves is their survivability, where Marek also wins with a higher hit point growth. Though, considering the massive amount of promotional items this game throws at you, there is zero reason not to use both of them if you want to. In Fire Emblem 3 Book 1, Linde works pretty much the same way as she did in the first game, though in this game, strength does affect the damage magic deals, and skill and luck also works much more like the way we're used to now, affecting hit rates and avoidance, so her high growth in these stats actually matters a lot more than they did in the first game. Linde has taken a big hit in terms of her survivability in this game compared to the first one, and sports a much lower hit points and defense growth. Her competitor Marek's personal tome is also now effective against flyers, which there are a lot of in this game, while her aura tome is mostly unchanged, aside from having its weight reduced by 1 point. Linde does have a support with Marek in this game, however, and will have her hit rates and avoidance boosted by 10% if she is within 3 tiles of him. She sadly does not give these bonuses back to him, as Marek apparently has a crush on Marth's sister and supports with her instead. This may not sound like much, but it actually helps out her survivability a ton, so make sure you keep them close together if you decide to field them both. In the second book, Linde goes from second best to the undisputed best mage of the game. She now joins you in chapter 2, whereas Marek doesn't show up until chapter 10, so their roles have kinda been reversed. In addition to her trademark aura, she also comes equipped with the Nosferatu tome, which is not a personal weapon, but can only be wielded by female spellcasters, and does a lot for her survivability, allowing her to stay on the front lines and survive thanks to the lifesteal. If you plan on using Linde, and you'd be an idiot not to, giving her some star shards to boost her low strength is a good idea, though she certainly does not need any star shards to be good. One of the star shards you can consider giving her is the Gemini, which drops from the boss in chapter 5. The Gemini increases her strength by 30% and her defense by 20%, at the cost of a measly 10% growth in weapon level, which she has more than enough of already. This will both increase her already high damage output and give her much needed durability. Furthermore, the Scorpio, which drops from a thief in Chapter 7, also boosts her strength by 20%, but also speed by 10% and skill by 20%, at the low cost of only 10% luck, which she will most likely cap out anyway. If you really want to turn Linde into a nuclear warhead, however, you can give her the Leo, which you get from a thief in Chapter 8. This will boost her strength score by 50%, putting her total growth up at 70, at only the cost of 10% defense, which won't really affect her all that much, since she is already super squishy anyway. This will make her guaranteed to cap magic early, and combined with the Aura Tome, she will absolutely demolish enemies. Some players make the argument that the Cancer Star Shard, which drops from Lang in Chapter 6, can be used to turn Linde into a frontline mage tank, and this is certainly possible as she will have a 60% defense growth with it, but I personally don't like the 10% strength penalty it brings with it, and I don't feel like she needs defense anyway, as her avoidance is already fantastic. Give her an Angelic Robe instead, it does a ton more for her survivability, and she can always use the Nosferatu if things get real dicey. However, there is one superior strategy that trumps everything before it, but it involves holding back on her experience gains a little bit to gain the full benefits. Once you assemble the Star Sphere, have Linde equip the Nosferatu Tome and send her single-handed into a battalion of enemies. As long as no single enemy has a chance to kill Linde in a single hit or double her, she will take out armies on her own, as the Nosferatu Tome won't deplete thanks to the Star Sphere, and she will just continuously heal herself up from the lifesteal. The 30% extra growths from the Star Sphere, combined with the tons of experience she will gain from this tactic, will turn her into an absolute monster. Using this method, it is not uncommon to see her cap out every single stat at 20. And then we move over to Shadow Dragon, where Linde has undergone some very strange changes. Firstly, her skill and speed growth has gone down considerably, and she's now actually quite slow with a 35% speed growth. Luckily, the Aura Tome only has a weight of 1 in this game, so at least she isn't slowed down heavily by it anymore, but she still has a very good chance of getting speed screwed, which is a very strange thing to her associated with Linde. Her Aura Tome has also undergone some weird changes. It is no longer a tome that's exclusive to her alone. All female mages can use it as soon as they obtain a B rank in tomes, but this most likely won't happen for quite some time, as you will need to promote one of your healers and train their tome skill for this to happen, so it will most likely be exclusively used by her. Linde is also more frail than ever in this game, with a 0% defense growth and a 40% hit points growth, so she will absolutely need an Angelic Robe on higher difficulties in order to not get one-shotted by enemies. She is now supported by Marth, in addition to Marek, but also provides a support for Jake, probably due to her sexiness. But despite this, she is without a doubt the weakest she has ever been in this particular installment of the game, and I would not recommend using her at all. In Fire Emblem, Heroes of Light and Shadow, Linde once again reverts back to her good old self. She joins much earlier and gets her amazing speed and skill growth back, so she is yet again one of the fastest mages in the game. Just like in Book 2 of Fire Emblem 3, the Nosferatu Tome also does a ton for her survivability, and is arguably much more useful than the Aura in the early game, especially since the weight stat is completely removed in this game, meaning she will never be slowed down. Though the same also goes for the enemies, so watch out. Still, she is, as usual, incredibly frail, and on higher difficulties she will need an Angelic Robe to get out of one-shot territory. Thank you for watching this character spotlights. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want me to feature a character in a future episode, please post it in the comment section below. Just make sure you visit the playlist by clicking the link in the video description, as I may already have featured your favorite character. Either way, a like and a comment really helps out my channel a lot, so I would certainly appreciate it. Once again, thank you for watching, my name has been Mangs, and I'll see you next time.